I never thought I'd be betrayed by my own mother-in-law. It was just a normal weekend. She came over to visit. I baked her favorite banana bread, lit a candle, and made the house feel warm, welcoming. Instead of gratitude, I got violation. She was caught on our camera, using my husband's toothbrush. She denied it, lied, screamed, called us the problem. But they forgot one thing: I wasn't done yet. What you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a reckoning. Stay till the end and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. It started small. At first, I told myself it was nothing, just my imagination. Maybe I was tired, or maybe I was just being sensitive. That's what she always said. Anyway, you're too sensitive, sweetheart. I was just trying to help. But there's a difference between helping and invading. The first time it happened, she moved things. Not big things, little ones. My hairbrush in the wrong drawer. My favorite mug pushed to the back of the cabinet. My lipstick used. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to stir up drama. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Then I noticed the bedroom door. It was unlocked. We always lock it when we leave the house. Always. But one day after work, I came home with the baby, and the door was cracked open. Her car wasn't in the driveway, but I knew she had come by. She had a key. She'd always had a key. At that point, my gut started screaming, but my brain kept whispering, "Don't overreact, and it's just your mother-in-law, and she means well, and she's family." And that's what kept me quiet for far too long. But things only got worse. She started offering to babysit more, insisting, really, not asking. Showing up uninvited with toys and snacks and that high-pitched voice she used when she wanted to sound sweet. She'd let herself in, pet the dog, walk through the living room like she owned the place. She'd say things like, "You should really organize this better," or "Is this what you're feeding him?" It wasn't curiosity. It was criticism, wrapped in fake concern. My husband, he didn't see it at first. He thought I was being paranoid. He loves her. And for years, he tried to play the middle. "She just wants to be close to us," he said. But I wasn't imagining the way she lingered in our bedroom longer than necessary. I wasn't imagining the time I came home early and caught her standing in my closet, holding one of my blouses, just staring at it. When I asked her what she was doing, she smiled like nothing was wrong. "Oh, I was just checking the fabric. It's nice. You always dress so sharp," but I could see it in her eyes. There was something off. That night, I brought it up to my husband again. He sighed, rubbed his temples, said maybe we should have a conversation with her, set boundaries. But setting boundaries with someone like her, it only works if they respect you. And she didn't, so I made a decision. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want drama. I just wanted the truth. I bought a couple of discreet motion sensor cameras. Nothing fancy, no sound, just visuals. I put one in the hallway, one in the living room, one near the front door, not in any private areas, not in the bathroom, just enough to know when someone entered and what they were doing when they thought no one was watching. It felt wrong, like I was betraying some invisible line, but deep down, I knew. I wasn't the one crossing boundaries. She was. The first week, nothing. The second week, a little more. She came in when we weren't home. Didn't tell us. Walked through the living room, opened drawers. Took something small, I still don't know what. She spent over 5 minutes in our bedroom, but then, week 3. That was the footage that changed everything. I remember sitting on the couch with my husband, holding my phone, replaying the video with shaking hands. We watched her walk out of the bathroom. She was holding something in her hand. She looked right into the hallway mirror. And then we saw it, my husband's toothbrush, in her mouth. She smiled, and I stopped breathing. He sat frozen. Then he stood up, pacing, staring. His jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. "I need to talk to her," he said. And I knew then we weren't crazy. We weren't overreacting. We weren't being dramatic or ungrateful or paranoid. We were finally seeing the truth. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. My husband didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of our bed, elbows on his knees, staring at nothing. The phone with the video sat between us on the nightstand like a loaded gun. "I have to talk to her," he said again. But this time, his voice wasn't confused or scared. It was calm, cold. I'd never seen him like that before. The next morning, he wrote out a list every boundary she had crossed, every moment we had swept under the rug, from the tiny invasions to the cruel little jabs she wrapped in fake smiles. It filled an entire page. Then he added another list, our new rules. Clear, simple, no keys, no uninvited visits, no access to our bedroom, no exceptions. He didn't want to fight. He wanted clarity. But with her, clarity always felt like an attack. He drove to their house alone. I watched from the window as he pulled out of the driveway. The baby was napping. The silence in the house felt thick, like I was holding my breath underwater. 40 minutes later, I got the first text. "It's not going well." Then another. "She's screaming." And finally, I'm leaving. When he came home, his face was pale and his hands were shaking. "She didn't even let me finish," he said. I told her about the toothbrush. I told her we saw it. I tried to be calm. What did she say? She said it was hers. That she brought her own. Then she said I was making things up. Then she said it was you, that you manipulated me. I felt my throat tighten. Of course she did. That was always her go-to defense: turn the blame, flip the script, play the victim. She started yelling, he continued, said I was a disgrace, that I was choosing you over my own blood. Then Dad came in. I looked up. What did he say? He backed her, called the cameras illegal, said I had no right to spy on my own family. Then he admitted they'd gone through this with their tenants before. Tenants, not family. And she was caught snooping there, too. I blinked. She did this to someone else. He nodded. Their tenants installed cameras after stuff went missing, caught her going through their fridge and bedroom. Same story, same lies. That's when the full picture clicked into place. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was who she was. So what happened next? They told me to get out. Screamed it. Said I was ungrateful. Dad yelled that they'd never do us any favors again. She threw. Something didn't hit me, but she wanted to. I felt a chill run through me. And then when I walked out, got in the car, that's it. But it wasn't it. Later that night, she texted me. No apology, no explanation, just one sentence. Is this how you treat family? I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. My heart pounded not from fear, but fury. Because no, this wasn't how I treated family, but it was exactly how she did. And then came the kicker. Her daughter, my husband's sister, texted him the next morning, demanding we delete the footage, calling it an invasion of privacy, saying we were tearing the family apart. She had no idea what that footage meant to us. It wasn't just a toothbrush. It was the final straw, the proof we needed, the line we couldn't ignore anymore. That night, we changed the locks. We boxed up the spare key. We deleted her access to the baby monitor. We stopped explaining ourselves, because if someone needs a camera to understand why you don't feel safe, they were never safe to begin with. I watched my husband hold our son tighter that night. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. We had crossed the line, not the one they claimed we broke. The real one. The one that separates survival from silence. We weren't going back, and they knew it. I thought the worst was over. I thought we'd drawn the line, shut the door, and that would be it. But women like her, they don't walk away quietly. They don't let go. They escalate. It started with a phone call I wasn't supposed to know about, a private call to my workplace. One of my coworkers, a kind older woman who's been like a mentor to me, pulled me aside. She didn't give her name. She whispered, but she said you were unstable, that you left your baby alone, that you were mentally erratic. My heart dropped into my stomach. I asked if there was proof. She said no, but the woman was convincing, calm, soft-spoken, like someone just trying to protect the child, like someone who cared. I knew that voice. I've heard it behind my back my entire marriage. And just like that, I realized she hadn't just lost access to our home. She lost control. And this was her way of getting it back. I didn't tell my husband right away. I needed to breathe. I needed to think. Because this wasn't just emotional anymore. This was calculated, deliberate, targeted. A few days later, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text. A handwritten envelope, no return address. The kind of envelope that makes your skin crawl before you even open it. Inside were printed screenshots, old social media posts, me with wine in my hand, a caption about feeling burned out, a post from 4 years ago talking about postpartum depression. None of it was illegal, none of it was dangerous. But taken out of context, it painted a story. And she knew exactly who she was painting it for. I sat there, stunned. Not because I was afraid people would believe it, but because someone I once called family went out of her way to weaponize my pain. That night, I told my husband everything. He didn't yell. He didn't pace. He just sat very, very still. Then he asked one question. Do you want to go to the police or a lawyer first? That's when I knew we weren't just defending our marriage anymore. When we were defending our lives. The next morning, we contacted a lawyer friend, explained the footage, the texts, the harassment, the calls, the envelope. She didn't even blink, just said, save everything and you have a case. We drafted a formal cease and desist letter, had it notarized, sent it through certified mail. She got it. We know because she sent back a reply, a single note, scribbled in angry handwriting. You'll regret this. Family is forever. No name, no apology, just a threat wrapped in sentiment. And for a moment, I felt afraid, but only for a moment. Because by then, I'd stopped seeing her as family. She was just another bully with a victim complex, another toxic woman angry she couldn't control the room anymore. So we locked down our home, new cameras, security code, no contact policy, every interaction documented, every communication filtered through our attorney. And we told the rest of the family. Some believed us, some didn't. One aunt said, she's just old-fashioned. Another said, but she's always been so sweet to me. I smiled and nodded, because abusers don't hurt everyone, just the ones they think they can get away with. I wasn't interested in proving anything anymore. I was done surviving her. Now I was building something better. But the war wasn't over yet, because when control fails, people like her don't disappear quietly. They get desperate, and desperate people, they're unpredictable. I didn't hear from her for a while. No texts, no emails, no late-night calls pretending to be concerned. Just silence. It should have felt peaceful. And in some ways, it was. The house was quieter. The baby slept better. Even the dog seemed calmer. But inside me, there was noise. Not from her. from everything she left behind, the second-guessing, the self-doubt, the ache of being blamed for creating distance when all I did was finally defend myself. I kept thinking, maybe she'll apologize. Maybe. Someday. She'll understand what she did. But days passed. Then weeks. No apology came. What came instead was freedom. It didn't arrive like a firework. It wasn't some grand moment of triumph. It was subtle. It was in the morning light on my coffee mug. It was the way my husband held our son without flinching at a notification. It was quiet dinners, where no one criticized my cooking. No one made passive-aggressive comments about how I looked tired. No one corrected how I held my baby. And slowly, I realized peace isn't always loud. Sometimes, peace is just the absence of poison. One afternoon, I sat on the porch, rocking gently with a blanket around my shoulders. My son played at my feet, babbling to his stuffed lion. The sun was warm on my face, and for the first time in years, I felt my chest rise and fall without tension. That's when it hit me I'd been holding my breath for years, and now I was finally breathing again. A friend called that evening. She asked if I'd heard the rumors. Apparently, my MIL had been talking, said we'd abandoned the family, said I manipulated her son, said we banned her from seeing her grandchild for no reason. I didn't respond. Not to her. Not to the people who parroted her version of events, because I had learned something far more valuable than defending my name. Sometimes, silence is the loudest boundary you can set. Let them talk. Let them twist. Let them rewrite the story in their heads. Because I know the truth. My husband knows it. And most importantly, our son will grow up in a home where truth matters more than appearances. I don't need to win a war of words. I already won the war for my peace. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Some nights, I still replay things in my head. The look she gave me the day we told her no. The way she weaponized my vulnerability. The phone call to my job. But I don't let those moments define me anymore. They're chapters, not the whole book. I still wonder sometimes what kind of grandmother she could have been. If she had chosen love over pride. If she had chosen to listen instead of control. But that version of her only existed in my hopes, not in reality. And I've stopped negotiating with ghosts. The woman I am now. She's not the woman who tolerated the closet snooping. Not the one who stayed silent for the sake of keeping the peace. She's the woman who said enough, who locked the door and kept it locked. Who didn't let the guilt drag her back. Who found peace not because everything got better, but because she finally let go of everything that made her worse. And that's the difference. Forgiveness isn't about letting them back in. It's about letting yourself out. People kept telling me I should forgive her, that I should be the bigger person, that family's all we've got, that one day I'd regret cutting her off. But here's what no one says out loud. You don't owe anyone access to your peace, especially not someone who used love as a weapon. I didn't walk away from her to punish her. I walked away because I was bleeding. And she kept handing me the knife. Healing didn't come in a dramatic moment. It didn't come with closure or an apology or a tearful confession. It came slowly, in the quiet mornings where no one barged into my space. In my baby's laughter, free, unjudged, untouched by her bitterness. In the silence that used to feel heavy, but now feels like home. She still tries, in her own way. Emails signed with guilt, gifts sent without names, stories whispered to relatives about how cold I've become. But I've stopped explaining myself, because you don't have to defend the door you closed to protect your soul, and I've stopped hoping she'll change. The woman who used my pain to shame me, the woman who saw my healing as rebellion, the woman who turned motherhood into a battlefield, I don't hate her. But I don't miss her either. What I miss is the fantasy, the version of her I tried to build in my mind, the mother-in-law who could have been kind, who could have held my hand instead of pulling it away when I reached out, but she chose control over love, over honesty, over us, and I chose peace. People think peace means everything's perfect. It's not. Peace just means I finally stopped trying to win someone's approval at the cost of my own self-worth. Now I build something better. A home where my child knows safety doesn't come with strings attached, where I love you isn't followed by guilt trips or silence, where boundaries aren't punishments, they're protection. I look at my husband sometimes and wonder how he survived that house, how he came out of all that and still chooses kindness, still chooses me. And I tell him this. Often you broke the cycle, and because of that, so will our son. This isn't revenge. This is rebirth. This is choosing joy even when sorrow knocks louder. This is finding strength not in shouting, but in walking away quietly, with your head held high and your heart finally still. So no, I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm free. And maybe you're listening right now, wondering if it's time to close your own door. Let me say it clearly. You're allowed to choose peace, even if it means walking away from the people who raised you. Even if it means letting go of the version of love you begged them to give. You don't have to wait for them to be sorry. You don't need permission to heal. You just need to choose you. And if no one's told you this before, I'm proud of you. You're not broken. You're becoming. And you are enough, exactly as you are.